Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is MiAh the King, and do you want to hear a joke about construction? I'm still working on it. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Crime Scene Cleaner. Now this game is awfully similar to another horror cleaner game, one that unfortunately I never had the pleasure to experience, but always wanted to. Developed by President Studio and published by President Studio and Playway SA. Released not in early access and selling for $20. So, what is this game? Well, to put it bluntly, it's a cleaning simulator game. Not enough? Okay. Well, basically you play this guy, right? His name starts with a K, and I'm not even going to try to butcher his legacy by trying to say it and ending up saying it the wrong way, so I'm just going to call him K. Anyway, K has a very super sick daughter, and he used to be a janitor. And, well, one thing kind of led to another, and now he's the personal crime scene cleaner of the local mob boss. I'm not going to say anything more due to spoilers. So, now with that out of the way, let's go into the good and the bad, shall we? Up first for the good is the graphical design. Now, it's obviously not the best graphics that I've ever seen, but in my opinion, it still looks really good for what it is. With great light effects, good attention to detail, shadows, coloring, contrast, etc., etc. Overall, I just think the artistic design and quality is legit for a game of this style. So, yeah, not the best, but not the worst, and to me, personally, it works really well for a game like this. Next up for the positives is the sound design. Now, it doesn't have much in terms of sound effects other than, cleaning sound effects, but it also has user interface sound blips, voice acting, and decent enough music. The music fits the theme, but it's not anything grand, but then you've got the voice acting, which I actually really liked.
You can work hard through your whole life, but sometimes even that's not enough.
So, overall, I just think the sound design here was about what you'd expect, hence it being in the positives. Next up for the positives is the gameplay. So the gameplay is about what you'd expect it to be. You get a job, then you go and have to clean up every little frickin' detail until you've accomplished enough to call it job done and get paid. But the game works like this. You have a home, which I love, by the way, and inside this home is a computer where you can get email providing you story about your character and the life around him, but also job offers of other crime scenes that need cleaning. You can also have a pet dog, and yes, I checked, you can indeed pet the dog.
Dexter, what are you doing up, boy?
And then after you get your job, you head off to the crime scene where you then have to use all of your janitorial tools at your disposal to clean up all the crime. You have a mop, a bucket, which needs to be filled and refilled with clean water, a pressure washer for those hard to reach stains, a sponge for the more delicate touch, and even a UV light to make sure you didn't miss anything. Oh, and while you're there, make sure to steal any valuables you can find, because every piece of money you earned is basically an experience point. The more money you take away from the job, the more levels you gain. And with each level, you get a perk point, which you can then spend making yourself a better cleaner. Now, rinse and repeat. But it's not like Power Wash Simulator, where you get a job and then clean in silence. Here, you get funny dialogue.
How are you doing, Dexter? Did you know Daddy started a criminal career?
You also get to hear some story, have some other dialogue between characters, so it keeps it fresh and entertaining as you clean up this horror show. Now, I'd like to see more in terms of the gameplay, but since it's not in early access, I guess I'm not really going to see a lot of big updates to this other than stability patches and whatnot. So, but I'd like to see more slice of life stuff added here. I mean, they almost went all the way. I mean, they let you watch TV in your apartment.
Omnivorous and will eat grass, aquatic plants, insects, seeds, fruit, fish, crustaceans, and other types of food.
So why not add a few more things that you could do in your apartment just to make it a little bit more quirky and funny? Like, why would this game be so realistic? I don't get it. It's obviously funny. Like, something like that. But whatever, that's more of a personal gripe. It does also have some issues of some objects needing to be placed back where they belong, but they won't snap to it or place themselves like they're supposed to. But it wasn't very often, so when this happened, it was kind of easy to ignore. You kind of just mess around with it, fiddle around until you finally get it to snap into place. It eventually works, but it was a little annoying that they're not doing a better job in that regard, especially when you're trying to clean everything up quickly. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the price tag. With the voice acting, graphics, gameplay, and everything else, stability and whatnot, I just feel like the price tag is not appropriate. It's better than appropriate. When I think of everything included here in this game, all I think is, I only paid $20 for this, so it's a great deal, and that needed to be mentioned. Next up positively that I want to talk about is the game's stability. The game was nice and smooth, no crashing, frame rate drops, glitches, freezing, or anything. I never had to worry about the stability while I was playing it, which that's always nice to see because it just makes the game a lot more fun. It makes everything flow better and helps you get acclimated better, so it was just really nice. Now, I could keep gushing about all the good of this game, but I have noticed that my videos are starting to get a little bit too long recently, and I also decided that it's time for me to cut back a little bit. These videos aren't supposed to be 13 minutes long. We're supposed to get them around 8 or 9 minutes. So now we're going to stop talking about the good and go into the bad, but before that, and also in the spirit of keeping things shorter, please support my channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks. Now then, on to the negatives. I didn't like the user interface. And yeah, that's about it. I wanted to complain about how long it takes to clean things up, but as you gain levels, you can speed that up tremendously. I suppose I could complain about how annoying it is to use the pressure washer, power washer thingy, but again, that can also be upgraded in your skills to get better. You know, it's supposed to be crappy in the beginning because all your skills are at level 1. I guess something I can complain about, and I'm still nitpicking here, would be the direction in the game. In one level, it wanted me to replace 11 pieces of furniture, and no matter where I looked, for how long or how hard I looked, and it even used my specialized cleaner sense, which is basically Spidey sense, but for detecting stains. Anyway, even when using that, I simply couldn't find the last piece of furniture that it wanted me to put back, and I was looking everywhere for it, so that was really frustrating. I'm a little bit of a completionist with stuff like this, so I eventually just had to leave, and I couldn't complete it. And that's kind of everywhere in the game, which it gets frustrating fast having so little direction when you're trying to do stuff. And I understand the large, broad scale that they want you to go for while cleaning, and they don't want to give too much direction. But for some things, it's like I'm using my Spidey sense, I'm going into every single room, and I still can't find the furniture. It's annoying, and I don't know if it was a bug or if it was just game design. Oh, and yeah, the tutorial. It's the kind of tutorial that I hate. The one where you're not learning by doing or by watching, but by reading. Now, I love reading, and I'm a great reader, but I don't respond well to tutorials who only teach you by reading, and only bringing things up when they're needed, and then only if you choose to read them. There are ways that you can implement tutorials into gameplay, even in games like this, that helps players to learn and also progress in the story while keeping them engaged. So when I see tutorials like this one, it's always just a little boring and disappointing. But I suppose it's not the worst, at least for this game, because, you know, it's still fairly simple and straightforward in overall the gameplay and what you're doing, so it's not like you even really need a tutorial that much, but there are some things that the tutorial didn't tell me. Like, it didn't tell me when your wash bucket gets too dirty and you need to clean it. It didn't tell me how to empty it, where to refill it, or anything. Well, it told me where to refill it, but it didn't tell me how to empty it or clean it. Turns out you just got to put it in the refilling station, and it'll clean itself and refill itself. Same thing with your power washer thing. But these are things the game didn't tell me. I had to figure them out on my own. So those are things that would have been nice to know, because I spent 5 minutes running around trying to figure out how to clean my bucket so I could keep cleaning the rest of the mess. So, you know, stuff like that. And the next thing that I want to talk about, the last negative I have, is also kind of a minor one. The game very much so has the potential of becoming too repetitive. I mean, it does have the story, and it does have the stuff that makes it a little bit different, like the dialogue and the different items and stuff that you can find, different locations you can go to, but it's still eventually basically just the same thing over and over again. Clean up these stains, wash that, replace that. So there is a tendency of having the game be a little bit redundant and repetitive, and not necessarily in a good way. But I mean, if they keep the story coming, and if they keep the interesting dialogue coming and stuff like that, then it could be a little bit more managed. So I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see the longer we play. Alright, so that's all I could really think of to say negatively about the game. In other words, I just didn't have a lot of bad to say here. I tried to just make the things that were bad and try to make them more poignant so you guys could, you know, really get a good understanding and idea of what's going on here. But yeah, still, even then, I feel like I was mostly nitpicking. I guess my recommendation here is that if you find this game even remotely interesting, and if you enjoy mindless simulator games with progression, then you're probably going to love this game. I found myself really enjoying it and strangely addicted to it, and I can already see that it's going to be eating up a lot of my spare time in the near future. So yeah, my recommendation is to give this game a try. It's not a waste of your money or your time, it's not a ripoff, it's designed very well, and overall I think it's a pretty solid game with some good comedy elements into it. So yeah, just go out and enjoy it. Alright everybody? Alright, so that's all the time I got for this video today. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.